And welcome to Salon Talks. I'm Dean Obidala, and today with us, the one and only Colin Quinn, you know from Weekend Update, movies like Trainwreck, a series of one-person shows, and he's got a brand new one right now playing in New York City at the Minetta Lane Theater. Red State, Blue State. Colin, my friend, it's good to see you. I know for years, it's great to see you in person again.
Good to see you too, Dean.
So, Colin, you are putting out one-man shows like, you're like Woody Allen on one-person shows, like every year without the baggage, of course. You're putting out a lot of shows. Before we talk about Red State, Blue State, I mean, literally the last few years, it's been one-person show after the other.
Yeah.
What's the process that goes from like, I have this idea, to here it is on stage in New York City?
Well, work it out at the comedy clubs, which is a good place to work it out. It's a mixed blessing because, you know, comedy audiences, just like I do, it's like they have a certain tolerance, so you can't really get as deep or narrative. So you work out all the jokes and all the ideas there, and then, you know, and then you bring in a director and then you start working it as a theater piece, you know.
So are you attracted like to the freedom of doing the one-person show? It's not like stand-up where it's like you have to have punchline, punchline,
Yes.
punchline. You can talk and make a point.
Make a point
breathe.
and make it funny, but you also, it doesn't have to get to a play, you know, because in stand-up clubs, drinks, food, they're not even facing each other.
Right.
The physical layout is saying the show is just part of this experience.
Right.
They're facing their friends and you're over here. Half of them are looking like this to watch a show. It's so ridiculous. Whereas theater, there's the show. There's no nonverbal clue that you're supposed to be doing something, anything else.
It's funny you say that. There are so many comedy clubs. It feels like theme restaurants. Like,
Yes.
and we just happen to have someone on stage. Your waiter will be taking your order while loud as possible.
Yeah.
And theater is beautiful for this. So, Red State, Blue State. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm sure you've had this experience in a comedy club where you're in the middle of a show, show's going great, you're getting laughs, everything seems normal, and then suddenly a table here, who was listening before, happy birthday, and they're bringing out a cake for somebody in the middle of the show and singing happy birthday.
I've had everything. I've been at clubs where people have screamed. I was at the Cellar one year where someone threw a glass at the comic right after me. I had nothing to do with it, but they were just screaming at the next person.
Sure.
You see everything in a comedy club, and people don't get it. So if you want to do something thoughtful,
that's not the place for it.
So you're doing Red State, Blue State.
Yeah.
And my sense is that your thesis is America is not long to exist as the United States.
Yes.
Tell me why.
Well, you know why. Everybody knows why. This is a country that is ideologically, because nobody is going to tell anybody else how to live. You might say that was even the mission statement of the country. So people just keep trying to tell each other how to live, and it's not budging. Nobody's budging. Most votes are 51-49. You know, the Supreme Court decision, 5-4. This is what I'm saying. This is too close. This is too many unhappy people. And no matter what anyone wants, everybody gets crazy going, will you understand what I'm trying to say? And everybody's like, no, you understand what I'm trying to say. And I just feel like, you know, it's time to make it into city-states or something. You know what I mean? Look, USSR broke up.
Right.
Why can't we break up?
So if we break up, how do you see it envisioning? Is it just red states are a country, or every state's its own little world?
I don't know yet. I mean, I haven't figured it out. They have to bring me in to the planning. But I would say city-states or something separating where you can live a certain way. You know, it won't be overnight. But I mean, this can't go on. There's going to be a civil war. I feel like, you know.
So when you say there's going to be a civil war, you mean like a real guns battle, that kind of
like bloody, like not official like the old Civil War, but a lot of ugliness, you know.
Whose side do you think is going to win?
Well, I mean, it's hard to say.
We're on Salon, so I mean, kind of go with the progressives.
Well, yeah, but you guys don't have the guns.
So you're telling progressives we should be stocking up on guns because the Civil War is coming.
That's what I'm here to say. I'm saying progressives, you're not pro-gun enough. I don't know your position on guns.
You can kind of guess. I'm progressive.
I'm going to guess you're pro-gun. Could be wrong.
No, we should. So, look, in today's America, and it's been documented, people are self-segregating politically.
Yes.
You don't want, to me, honestly, if someone said to me, we're going to move you to Texas, a great TV opportunity or something, unless it's Austin, I probably don't want to go, to be honest. And there are so many Americans feel the same way. Is that part of this kind of sense where we're not even talking to people who disagree with us? Or we don't want to live near them? We don't want them to be our neighbors?
No, nobody does. No, that's normal. Who wants to be around people you disagree with? Why would you want to be around people you disagree with? It's normal. Yeah, by the way, Austin's going to suffer during this red state, blue state.
Because they're going to get eaten up right away. That's everyone's got a gun.
They're the first ones going to have to move out.
They might go to Mexico.
Yeah.
No, there's a difference between, we can disagree, but it's passionate disagreement that causes problems. Because we can have like a...
The internet, that's what did it.
So social media has not brought us together in a good way.
My show talks about social media, how it really was the end.
In what way? Like, give me, what's an example?
I mean, just the fact that in the old days, you didn't have to hear each other. You just kind of sensed like, oh, I heard they're like that down there. That must be weird. But now everybody's in each other's face all day. Social media is just everybody in each other's face.
On some level, do you think social media has given people a voice who don't deserve like a platform, and like they feel like because they have like 1,000 Twitter followers, like there's something, and you're like, and I don't mean like the average person. I mean like there's trolls who are truly, objectively racist and vile and anti-Semitic, and now they get together and they think their voice matters. In the old days, we would just marginalize those voices. They were out there, but they were marginalized. Now they feel like, look at all these people on my side.
Right. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I just think that it doesn't matter whether it does or doesn't. It is what it is. So, I mean, we could argue all the nuances of it, but this is the state. Social media is not going away. So this is just, you know what I mean?
Well, what about social media in terms of like going after celebrities? I mean, you mentioned about Kevin Hart in a recent interview that the mob comes after him and stuff like that. Is there a time that the mob actually should call out if someone's being objectively like racist and bigoted and really horribly sexist?
There's no such thing objectively, first of all.
I have my own
according to you, subjectively racist and bigoted.
True.
But that's what I'm saying. This is the problem. You understand?
No, you're right, because I've had conversations with Trumpers who'll be like, he's not racist. And I'll give an example. They go, that's not racist. Right. And I go, oh my God, we have a different definition of racism. So how do we ever address that if we don't even agree on it?
That's the point. Exactly, right? That's the problem. And all these things never had to get discussed before because they weren't part of this social media platform, you know what I mean? So now we all see all the different nuances of what everybody feels, and everybody's got their own, not just our own subjective ideas about things, but just like a tolerance level for people you like. We were talking about this the other day. I was saying, I'm the same way as everybody else. When I see the mob going after somebody I don't like, I'm like, get him. Just like, it feels good to be in the mob, the torch, going after Frankenstein.
Right.
So we all have our ideas about what it is, and there's no room for any ambiguity or contradictory thing. If you're either in lockstep, you're either 100% down the line with everything liberals or conservatives believe, or you're not part of that. And that's the way it is. And that's weird to me. When you think gray area is like a given thing for most people. But I'll talk to people who go, yeah, I agree with that. And then you say something, you disagree. They go, yeah, but you have to, it just bothers them. So it's like, this is an unreasonable situation. And the extremists, the fastest typists are in charge of our country. The people with the most time on their hands to tweet and go on social media are setting the national tone. And that's not normal either, is my opinion.
It's not normal. That's me, though. That's sort of what I do. I'm a fast typer.
You're in the business.
That's what I do. So, but look, here, let's talk about, you've railed against political correctness for years. Before it was even like the thing. You did it in your one-person show Unconstitutional. You had a great clip on that.
Sure.
But at what point is political correctness not political correctness? It's actually pushing back against racism and bigotry. And I know we don't agree on the terms. I'm not saying you, but I'm saying collectively we don't. At what point is it actually, maybe PC is not the right term, but if people come out, someone who's truly being vile, who's demonizing people and ginning up hate against someone, is that PC saying like, well, you're being PC?
Well, I have a line in my show, which I hate to give away the lines in the show.
It's okay.
I'm really
like a 70-minute show. You give away a line
like that.
I
I have a line about comedy where I go, people say ethnic humor encouraged racism. And I say, that's a thing in the show, but nobody does ethnic humor anymore.
Sure.
And I go, that is true. Since the eradication of ethnic humor from the mainstream, racism is gone. The fact that people are this focused on stand-up comedians' words is a little weird. And it's Orwellian, and it's not, I understand. Things offend me.
Sure.
Comedians offend me.
Sure.
But there's still the whole principle of the country is like, who gets to decide what's racist? Who gets to decide what, you know what I mean? The mob, basically. That's the way it is, and I understand. People are going to do what they're going to do. Nobody can stop anybody from doing anything. You know what I mean? I can't stop people from the way they think. They can't stop me from the way I think. That's why I think you should break things up.
The country into nation states, as Colin calls for in red state,
and maybe some purple states,
Is anyone left in the middle? I mean, is it a charade to say there's actually independence?
No, I think there's a lot of people in the
really
middle.
Do.
Yeah, but they're not so focused. They're not the zealots that are out there every day going, listen to what I'm saying. I'm right. There are people who are just like, I talk to people all the time that are kind of in the middle. You know what I mean?
I don't know how you, in today's, here's my own bias. In today's world where the stakes seem so high in the time of Donald Trump, and I'm sure people said this on the right during Obama. Right. Like, how could you sit out? How could you not take a position on this stuff?
Yes, exactly.
So I try to think about that from their point of view, but it's challenging. And you also said about being progressive, that if you don't check every box, the place where I veer sometimes from my fellow progressives, and I do it because I'm really a free speech person, like absolute. Right. I think you answer speech you don't like with more speech. You don't silence it. I think key comedians have to have the freedom to offend when they're especially talking politics or societal issues. Yeah. And that's, it doesn't mean freedom from criticism, but it means if they're talking politics, how do you not see that as important? How are they not comedians as truth tellers? And maybe it seems too self-elevated. I'm not talking about me, I'm talking about comedians, yourself and others who go out there and talk about politics all the time. You're going to offend someone. That's life. It's got to be.
You've got to offend people. I was like, my favorite quote is this guy, I think I told you, Jack Simmons. He's before your time in comedy, but he used to do this joke about, just baby Jessica falling down the well. That's how old I am. Right. And but he used to go, the crowd moan, as they should. Right. And he goes, come on, folks, it's comedy. Somebody's got to get hurt. That's my favorite quote.
Literally, it's very fun.
It's so true. Comedy's never positive. Comedy is not talking about the lighter side. It's talking about the, people's flaws and society's problem. Like, it's not a positive thing.
You said something to me at SNL. You're not going to remember, but everything you've said, I went back and I wrote down and I kept it in my diary. But you gave a lot of great advice on comedy. You gave advice to a cast member now. He's not on the cast anymore, but Dean Edwards, who was doing an update feature on Denzel Washington. Right. And you went and helped him punch it up. But you said, look, someone's got to be the butt of the joke. You're making it like a tribute to Denzel Washington. That's not funny. Right. You've got to make fun of someone. And, and every joke, someone is got to be the victim. Yeah,
it seems like that's the nature of humor.
Right.
Unless we're missing something here. It's like, it's always, it's never like, hey, I went by, I was on the train right now. It's so crowded, but you know what? The MTA is trying their best. You got to give them credit. That's a drama maybe, but comedy's like, MTA sucks. The people sitting next to me, everyone's crowding me in. I'm the victim. You know what I mean? Like, it's like
someone's got to suffer.
Yeah, everybody's got to be the bad guy in your comedy.
So you were in SNL in the years, and I was there. I was a page, and I worked on the production staff for a few years with you. It was time of Bill Clinton, and especially the last few years were so many. Clinton jokes and Monica Lewinsky at any time, and I ask this sincerely, I don't know. Did you ever hear? Did you ever hear from Lauren or anyone that Bill Clinton complained about the humor, that it was too much or was too mean-spirited?
No, not at all. I mean, no. All I remember is Monica Lewinsky came on the show, did a guest spot on the show, and she looked at me, and she was so hurt, and I was like, ugh. Look what I do for a living. I was disgusted. I felt so bad. She wasn't mad. She was probably mad too, but just her eyes, she was just so, she didn't say a word. We were just passing each other in the hall. And I was like, oh, I felt dirty.
So you saw a reflection in her of you, and you're like, you see me like this? That's not how I want to be seen.
Yeah.
Oh my. And that's because we can update jokes about her.
Yes, of course. You're up there, you're not thinking about the person.
Sure.
You're like, oh, this is no joke. Let's get it out here. Give me that joke. That's so good. And then you see the person. And if I saw the person and they're mad, you're like, I don't care what you think. You know what I mean? That brings out that side of you. But just her young, she was 23 or something, and just her face and the hurt. And I was like, whoa.
Do you ever look back at the jokes from SNL and go, I can't believe I told that joke?
No, because even at the time, some of my jokes, they were like trying for me not to get them. You know what I mean? Like, just because I grew up in New York, so my idea of, what I decide is determined as appropriate is not going to be appropriate sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, I get a lot of trouble back then sometimes too.
And what about, so now you have a different world. You have Donald Trump, who literally is what I call it waging a war on comedy. I mean, he literally called for SNL to be canceled October 2016 in his tweets. He's gone after Alec Baldwin numerous times. Do you think the tone, and I'm not sure how much you watch, or maybe you catch some clips online, is the tone meaner now about Trump than it was about Bill Clinton? Or is it just Donald Trump is so thin-skinned, that's why we hear the complaint?
Well, obviously he's so thin-skinned, you know what I mean? And so I mean, yeah, no, it was. I mean, look, it was hard back then.
Oh my!
It was
crushing
hard.
Bill Clinton.
It was as hard as you know, as it is now. I think. Yeah, I think the tone at SNL, you know, it can be hard. Like you say, you're the last people of the week to be heard from, and it was like, what's SNL going to say? And now there's more social media. There's more things. So you're trying to all the talk shows. Everybody's doing their job. There's everything going on, and then you're the last show, so you better try to hit hard. And sometimes it's too hard. Sometimes it's in bad taste. Sometimes it goes after, but it's part of the, you know.
I mean, you're not going to find a bigger defender of comedy and comedians saying whatever jokes they want about, especially politics, than you or me.
Right.
Like, look at Trump. And forget politics for a second. Because if Obama did this, I would call it out as absolute BS.
Right.
He's not only went after SNL, went after late night comics as president, he railed against the White House Correspondents Association last year after Michelle Wolf tweeted, like, retire the dinner or change. And then the White House Correspondents Association 2 months ago announces, we're going to not have a comedian this year for the first time in 30 years. And it seems like they're giving in to him. And to me, that's what you do in like third world countries.
Well, not having a host either. Who are they giving in to?
Well, that was a Kevin Hart pushback.
No, but that's what I'm saying. I'm saying it's not, Trump doesn't have power in the media. You're acting like Trump has power with his base, but Trump doesn't have power. Nobody's shaking because of Trump in showbiz. Let's not set up a fake dragon to slay here. You know what I mean? He has no juice in show. In fact, if somebody said they like Trump, they'd be in more deeper trouble in showbiz than anything else. So let's not, you know. I understand Trump's a psychotic, but let's not act like he has some he could cancel the White House Correspondents' Dinner. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but the White House Correspondents Association, it's not Hollywood. They did it because they want access to the White House staff. I mean, they don't want to lose access to the White House
staff. There's no one left.
It's just Trump walking around tweeting.
Just Trump. He said it the other day. First of all, I'm here by myself.
He reveals so much about this kind of and like his joke. I don't know if you saw it last night, making fun of Liz Warren, and maybe your husband should dress up like a Native American. I'm like, get a writer. Like, this is just crap. This is garbage at this point.
Well,
there was a time he was funny. At some of his rallies, he can be funny.
But you just hit the nail. From day one, the first couple of times he was in the debates, he was funny.
Yeah.
And then, as we both know in comedy, that's why he does all his live appearances. Not just to get his base going. He's addicted to the laughs. Mm-hmm. And he keeps trying the same, but except he's not smart enough to write the material, so he's doing the same jokes. That he's just trying to say, oh, and he does these broad kind of, oh, and they're telling me, oh, and he's like trying to get laughs, and he's not getting the laughs that he got, and he's still trying. You're right, that's what it is.
I agree with you, the analogy to Trump and a comedian, because he goes on stage and does these meandering 90 minutes, like looking for the punchline.
Yes.
And then he repeats it just like you're watching
doing it from day one. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I see in him the comics who are self-destructive, who know they shouldn't tell certain jokes, or they don't, like in their head, they're like, I don't want to work blue anymore. They'll say it like they made a choice. They're not getting laughs, the clean stuff, and then they go to the blue stuff, and it kills, and like, oh, I shouldn't have done that joke. And Trump does jokes, and he goes, I know I shouldn't say this, and here I go, and boom, place goes crazy, and that's the soundbite. So he's from that same cloth. But also the idea that he rails against comedy. Like, I performed in the Middle East. I performed in Saudi, open for a beheading. Folks, I'm kidding. And I performed Saudi, Egypt, Lebanon, Jordan. The rule is, every single place, no making fun of the leaders of your country.
Right.
And because these leaders don't want to be laughed at. They want to be feared. And I really think, all joking aside, Trump is cut from that cloth. Like the idea of, I would rather be feared than laughed at, because laughing at me takes away my power.
Absolutely, he's cut from that cloth. But to think that he, in some way, has any influence on the media and show business is ludicrous. You're right. He has the soul of a totalitarian.
Right.
But he's not. It's not like people are quaking in fear in this country, including the press. They're offended by him, but nobody's like leaving. He hasn't been hands off. Everyone just mocks him all day. So I'm saying you're right in that in his heart he would be a demagogue if he could get away with it, but he can't get away with it. It's just not set up that way, you know.
And it's nonstop whining and tweeting. So let's tell people a little bit more about your show. Red State, Blue State, playing now through March 3rd, Minetta Lane Theater right here in Manhattan. Great theater downtown. I've been there for a show recently.
Love that theater.
And what more can you tell people about the show? They're going to come to New York, they visit, or they're New Yorkers, they live here. What are they going to see? I
mean, I don't know. It's kind of a, I'll only say this because it's Salon. It's a meditation on the country. Most places you don't want to, people aren't going to come to a show to see a meditation on anything. So I feel like maybe Salon, they would say, like, you know what I mean? And but it's just about how how we got, you know, what we do and how people behave, in my opinion, you know.
And from what I read, and your publicist is here, so I read it in a press release, you make fun of both the left and the right.
I make fun of the left and the right.
Equally. It doesn't matter. It's good though. Look, it's great you make fun of the left, and I hope progressives come out. Yeah. We should be challenged because it's coming from a good place. It's like it's a comedic place. Yeah. You've got to have this. We laugh together.
Yeah.
And sometimes if the comedians are good, and you are really good, and I say this not just you're sitting here sincerely. I've always watched you and admired you. You bring up real points. It's not like a fart joke at the end of the line.
No.
Like you're making a point and you're making people laugh, and that's to me the highest form of comedy.
Thank you. Thanks. Yeah. No. I mean that's what I try to do. I mean, you know. I don't like doing sex jokes. I try to explain to people, I never had much sex material. It's also Irish people, even though it's an old idea, Irish people don't like to talk about sex.
Right.
It's just part of our culture. And so that's why, even when I was growing up, I would do sex in my act, my family would be like, all right. You know what I mean? Like,
right, they get...
Is that what you think? Okay. And so I just trained you to think other ways.
It's funny, like my side's completely different because we're Arab and Muslim, so we love the sex joke. No, there's no, there's no, I've children. No. If we did a remake of Sex in the City, it would just be called In the City. It's women shopping.
Oh yeah, you're right.
You can't, it's uptight and stifling on a certain level, and then they get out there and they do whatever they want.
But in the show I talk about sex was a mistake too in this country, but that's another story. Yeah.
It's a great show, and Red State, Blue State playing right now, Manila Lane Theater. Colin, great seeing you again, my friend.
Always great to see you.
It's great, and I hope people check out the show.
Thanks.
Thanks for tuning in.